So now we're going to explore compound interest. We've done simple interest. Now we're going to do where we bank the money and then earn interest on that as well. So we're going to understand the concept of getting interest on your interest and compute compound interest using a table. So let's take a look at some of our key terms. Compound interest, what does this mean? It means money is earned on the money deposited plus the previous interest. So when you earn interest, they put that into your account and then you start earning interest on that interest. Annual compounding means interest is compounded once each year. Semi-annual compounding means that interest is compounded twice each year or every 6 months. We have quarterly compounding, which means that it is compounded 4 times per year or once every 3 months. Daily compounding is interest compounded every day, so there are 365 days in a year, or in a leap year there are 366 days. Crediting means interest that is compounded daily but is paid either quarterly or semi-annually. So if you earn interest daily, they're not going to every day deposit money into your account. They're going to bank that money for you, and then they're going to give it to you either on a 3-month basis or a 6-month basis. So what is compound interest? Some things to think about. Could interest be compounded every hour? Is that a possibility? Good question. Think about it. Write down what you think here. How many hours are in a year? Well, there's 365 days in a year and 24 hours in a day. So how do I solve this and figure out how many hours there are in a year? These question marks should be replaced by an answer. And could interest be compounded every minute? Is that feasible? Is it possible? Again, your compounding breakdowns here annually means once a year. So you'd use your simple interest rate. Semi-annually means twice a year, every 6 months. Quarterly means 4 times a year or every 3 months. And monthly is 12 times a year. And daily is 365 times a year or 366 times a year if it's a leap year. Example 1. How much interest would $1,000 earn in 1 year at a rate of 6% compounded annually? And what would be the new balance? So to do this, we go back to our simple interest formula. So we take the principal, which is $1,000, the rate converted to a decimal, which is 0.06, and annually means once. Multiply those values together, and I get $60 just in interest. But they want to know what's the new balance of my account. So the account would earn $6 in interest, therefore the balance after 1 year is $1,060. The check your understanding question. How much would X dollars earn in 1 year at a rate of 4.4% compounded annually? Again, I take out my X dollars, which is my principal, my rate of 4.4%, make that a decimal, so I end up with 0.044, and again, annually here means once. So when I multiply those, I end up with 0.044X dollars. Example 2, we get back into all numbers, so we actually will end up with a dollar amount here. Maria deposits $1,000 in a savings account that pays 6% interest, compounded semi-annually. What is her balance after 1 year? Well, my principal for this is $1,000. My rate is 6%, and again, we have to convert that to a decimal. Compounded semi-annually means twice in a year, so we're going to have to do it once for the 6 months, and then we're going to have to do it again for the second 6 months. And then we need to know what her balance is after 1 year. So for the first 6 months, again, simple interest formula. Our principal is $1,000, our rate is 6%, and our time is half a year because we're going to get our interest after the first 6 months, which is half of a year. Multiply those, and my interest is $30. So that $30 now gets deposited into my account, and I start earning interest on that $30. So the principal after 6 months is $1,030. That's now my new principal to figure out what I'm going to earn for the next 6 months or the last half of the year. So again, I plug it in, my new principal, which is $1,030. The interest rate hasn't changed, and the time of year hasn't changed. Multiply those values, and you end up with $30.90. Your principal after 1 year is the principal that we started with for the second 6 months plus what we just earned in interest, which comes out to $1,060.90. Check your understanding. Again, nice clean numbers here, no expressions, just an actual solution to this. Alex deposits $4,000 in a savings account that pays 5% interest compounded semi-annually. What is his balance after 1 year? So again, you see I've pulled out my information. My interest equals PRT, principal times rate times time. They only want to know, in this case, his balance after 1 year. So we're going to have to do this twice again. So his principal is $4,000, the rate is 5%, and his time is half a year. Again, semi-annually means twice a year, so every 6 months. So when I multiply those values, I end up with $100. I then take that $100, add it to my principal. This is now my new principal. So I take the $4,100 and multiply that by the rate of 5%, and again the half a year, so the second half of the year, and I end up with $102.50. That's just the interest that I've earned. They want to know the balance, so I go ahead now from this point and add my previous principal, which is $4,100, and the new interest, which is $102.50, for a total of $4,202.50 in the account. Example 3. How much interest does $1,000 earn in 3 months at an interest rate of 6% compounded quarterly? What is the balance after 3 months? So again, quarterly means 4 times a year. If I break a year up in 4s, that gets me 3 months every quarter. So they only want to know after the first 3 months. So I only have to do this one once. So again, pull out the principal, the rate, and the time we know is quarterly, but for the first 3 months only. So I take my formula, I equals PRT. I take my principal, which is 1,000, 0.06, which is my rate, and 0.25, which is the time of year because it's quarterly. Multiply those together and I get $15. So after the first 3 months of compounding interest, I have $1,015 in the account. Check your understanding. How much does $3,000 earn in 6 months at an interest rate of 4% compounded quarterly? Again, very similar to the last example. The only thing that's different here is that our compounding, it's done quarterly, but we're doing it twice here because we have to do it for 6 months. So for the first 3 months, I take my $3,000 as principal, my 4% rate, and my quarter of a year, multiply those, and I end up with $30. So in the account is $3,030 after the first 3 months. This $30 becomes my new principal, and I multiply it by the rate. I multiply it by another quarter of a year for a total of $30.30 and interest. When I add that to my previous balance in the account, I end up with $3,060.30. Example 4. How much interest does $1,000 earn in 1 day at an interest rate of 6% compounded daily? What is the balance after a single day? So again, my principal is 1,000. My rate, which is 6%, compounded daily. Well, they don't mention anything about leap year, so we assume that it's a regular year. So with my interest equals principal times rate times time, I pull out my $1,000, my rate of 6%, again I converted it, and my time is 1 day, so again it's always in years, so I have to put it in years, so 1 out of 365. Multiply those and you end up with 16 cents. So in 1 day I've earned 16 cents on $1,000. So my balance would be $1,000.16. Well, let's take a look at now how much interest does X dollars earn in 1 day at an interest rate of 5% compounded daily, and express your answer algebraically. So you're not going to end up with a complete dollar amount here. You're actually going to still have a variable in here. There's my principal. There's my rate, my compounded daily. So I take my principal, which is X, my rate of 5%, and compounded daily fraction is 1 out of 365. Multiply straight across all the numerators together and then all of the denominators, so I have 0.05x over 365. And example 5, Jennifer has a bank account that compounds interest daily at a rate of 3.2%. On July 11th, the principal is $1,234.98. She withdraws $200 for a car repair. She receives a $34 check from her health insurance company and deposits it. On July 12th, she deposits her $345.77 paycheck. What is her balance at the end of the day on July 2nd? So we have to figure out what she earned on July 11th, as well as what happened on July 12th. Well, to do that, let's set up our chart here. Now you will have this in your notes and it will already be filled out. I'm going to show you how we ended up with these answers. So we take her opening balance on July 11th, which was $1,234.98. She deposited $34 and took out $200. The principal used to compute the interest, which is all of this value here. We add this and then subtract this. So we end up with $1,068.98. The day's interest rounded to the nearest cent. How did I get that? Well, again, we take the principal times rate times time. So her principal was $1,068.98 times the rate of 3.2%, which we have to convert to a decimal. And this is compounded daily, so the fraction is 1 out of 365. Multiply those together and I get 9 cents. So that goes in here. So her ending balance on July 11th was $1,069.07. That ending balance now becomes her opening balance for July 12th. So you'll see over here that $1,069.07 is in here. We have a deposit of $345.77, which means that my new principal is $1,414.84. How did I get the interest of 12 cents here? Again, use the same formula. So $1,414.84 times the 3.2%, which is 0.032. In the daily compounding, which is 1 out of 365, I end up with 12 cents for July 12th. I add the principal and the interest together, and her balance for the end of July 12th was $1,414.96. And our final example here. Check your understanding. On July 7th, Joelle opened a savings account with $900. It earned 3% interest compounded daily. On January 8th, she deposited her first paycheck of $76.22. What was her balance at the end of the day on January 8th? So the same problem as before. The only thing here is you have to create your table, which should look something like this. The opening balance, what did she start with? $900. She did not have any deposits or withdrawals on the 7th, so her principal is still the same $900. How did I get the interest? And what is it? Well, I take $900 times the rate, which is 0.03, for 1 day, which is 1 out of 365, and I end up with a value of 7 cents. Add the $900 and the 7 cents for a 907 cent total. And that gets carried up into your new opening balance for the next day. She then deposits $76.22 on January 8th. So I have to add those two values together for a total of $976.29. Now I have to calculate the interest again for January 8th. So I take my new principal, which is $976.29, times the 3%, and the 1 day, which is 1 out of 365, and I end up with 8 cents. That goes here in my interest box. I add the principal and the interest together for a total of $976.37.